On the 18th February 2015, I was hit head-on by a car as I cycled to work. Although my bike was obliterated, I'd been lucky. Despite being knocked unconscious and needing 44 stitches in various facial wounds, I only broke a single tooth and an index finger. My recovery, however, proved stuttering. I was convinced that I must have damaged my back. I kept getting odd sensory distortions down my legs, unremitting pins and needles in my feet. I was sleeping 14 hours a night and still needing a nap in the day. I was beset by an exhaustion and a lethargy that I felt was out of keeping with the injuries I'd sustained. Ultimately, my GP advised me to report to A&E. 48 hours later, the neurological registrar at Southmead Hospital was explaining to me that I was suffering from multiple sclerosis. A game changer. There's 2 bikes, I need to put new brake pads on. So.
Okay. How many bikes do you have?
Always want one more. Any of you know how to change brake pads on a bike?
I don't think so, no.
So, my name is Ewan, I do loads of cycling, and I have MS. It's an autoimmune condition, okay? And it's when your own immune system attacks your own body, thinking it's alien. So it does damage to your spine and to your brain. Okay? When it attacks your spine or brain, it causes these little lesions, these little scars, these scleroses, which unfortunately, because of their location by your central nervous system, they then distort your nervous system. So you get a lot of what's called neurological impacts. So a lot of your nerve endings don't function quite right, so it begins to affect your movement, your sensations. I suppose when I am really not feeling well, I reflect on the fact that people have no idea how ill I actually am. I mean, there's friends of mine, good friends of mine, who knew I had this diagnosis. When I wrote my book and published this book about my MS and my cycling with MS, good friends of mine were reading that and saying, I had no idea you were that ill. I had no idea you were ill for those periods of time. I was like, yeah, I was really ill. But no one knows that. No one sees you when you're like lying on the floor with vertigo because you can't stand up. And you don't tell people about that because you don't. You tell people about what you did at the weekend and, let's buy a coffee or have a drink together, and it doesn't come up. Is that a problem? Would I rather it was different? I don't think so. As I say, I'd rather have something that was very, very invisible than something that was very, very visible. Cycling is something I've been able to continue doing almost unabated, which is why it's increased in importance to me. All these other things, these other pastimes, these other joys I used to have had to be ticked off, but cycling remains, which it makes me a bit nervous sometimes because, as I said in my book, it feels a little bit as if all my eggs are in one basket now. I have no plan B, so when I have these periods of illness, when I'm housebound or even bedbound, I don't have these other loves or hobbies to pursue and to move into that vacuum. I feel a bit depressed. I feel empty because the hobby I've continued to be able to do has been taken away. I don't think I'm yet ready to concede what has been my passion for over 20 years. My love of cycling is a love of being free, a love of being outdoors, and of long descents and of tailwind speed. But it's also a love of the battle, the challenge, hairpinning climbs and horizontal rain, the coffee stop when I was too tired to carry on, or the sudden view of the sea after a 2-hour ascent. Should these things stop now?
So how did you think the bike ride went in December?
Well, suppose the headline is that I was so delighted with how many people turned up. So, you know, there's over 50 people at the coffee stop, and raised, like on the day, about £400. And then it's with matched giving through some of the sort of sponsoring companies, it went up to 800. So it's 800 quid for like a day cycling. It's one of those kind of things that grew organically. So I organise through Bristol South, we do a monthly hill climb competition. And then someone came up with the idea, at the end of the year we should do a mega ride that incorporates all the climbs of the year. Let's just see if it's possible. We looked into it, we saw the distance, and we thought, you know what, like it's not that bad, like perhaps we should all do it as a club. Well, you know, we should do it as a big charity ride, you know, it's quite a challenge to do them all. So the first year we did it, not unofficially, but we did it kind of, didn't put a huge amount of effort into it, just did it in a coffee shop. And it raised, you know, a couple of £100. So, you know, you realise there's something there. So then, the next year we did it a little bit more officially, we sold raffle tickets, we kind of spread the word, not just for the club, but for like the wider Bristol area, and for the cyclists in the area. And it was stymied a bit, but the weather was really bad that year, so there wasn't so many. But we kind of, you know, there's something going there. So we've done it 5 times now, and with the nice clear skies and, you know, Blue Sky Day, that was the most people that's turned out, the most money that's been raised. It's a bit of a hassle, but I'll do it again next year, I think, you know, we'll be well. It's a really weird, like when I was first diagnosed, it's a really weird time because you don't have an acute condition that you're going to die of immediately. So the NHS kind of, as soon as I had a diagnosis and they knew what was wrong with me, everything went really quiet. You know, like the next appointment was like 6 months later. So I'd had this really life-changing diagnosis. And then the next step was 6 months' time. So it was a bit, you know, all these questions, all these kind of like, what does it mean? You know, I didn't have any immediate answers. What I did was started just researching and Googling things about MS, which is pretty dangerous. It's a bit of a minefield, randomly looking up medical conditions on the internet, because you see all sorts of stories. But the MS Society was quite a reliable, dependable source of information. Not just a source of information, but there is sort of user groups, there's a community around it, and forums where you can kind of, you know, look through message chains and just kind of get a better feel for what the condition might mean for me. And they sent me pamphlets, there was a phone number I could phone if needed. All this stuff is free, funded by someone, it was funded by the MS Society.
It is one way of kind of bringing together people, because I think it's that loneliness issue, you know, because you really do feel, although I think it's 100,000 people with MS in the whole country, but at the same time, you know, that's the thing, is that your various close groups nearby, you won't know anyone with any of them, and it's quite a difficult thing to talk about with other people, because a lot of times, you know, they kind of see, if they don't see there's anything wrong with you, then there's not much help they can offer.
The joy behind multiple sclerosis, I guess, would be good at meeting other people who have MS, so you can share notes and insights and find out what is good or bad about MS, but whether a solution has been found or people still looking for a solution.
The older I get, now in my 40s, I realise that, you know, to maximise one's happiness, it's not to cycle as many miles as you can or to earn as much money as you possibly can. I think being involved and contributing and helping others, it genuinely is the way forward. And I've got a wife who I love, I've got my children who I support and love, but somehow doing something like working and helping the MS Society has opened my eyes to how rewarding that sort of stuff can be. I should do more of it. I'd like to do more of it. It's kind of, you know, New Year's resolution to get back involved this year and try and do a bit more. So yeah, I'll see how it goes with the rest of my life, I suppose.